it's just a meta where team fights around CC are, I mean, they're often dominated and or decided by CC, so Kennen is a great champion you can use to initiate from a different angle, look for those late game objective fights. But this composition does very well later on, and if you can get an early lead too in the top side of the map with UCAL's help, I really like KT's draft. It's going to be about the execution, but the potential is so high.
Absolutely. This is going to be a pretty fun one.
Yeah.
I feel like our music is having a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, it's struggling a little
We're
bit.
trudging along here. Ooh. They're up against a Braum, remember? But Doran is not going to mess around with that. Airy Cannon, by the way, really trying to put the pressure on.
He did not see the rest of the team. Okay, he has now.
Let's see. Nope. No follow-up. Just going to be that.
Allows Zeus to get the free ward over the wall here on blue side red buff. So ends up being way more valuable here for KT. Because Doran does not walk face first into the enemy team. This is going to be an exciting one because for Afrika, this matters a lot. And they really want to 2-0 this. That's what's going to give them their best opportunity in this last series to actually jump forth. It's still not in their control. Relies on Genji losing as well. And then they have to succeed in a tiebreaker. So there's a lot going on. But it's so important for them. And for KT Rolster...
Lands.
Yeah. Okay. For
Just one Teemo away. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. For KT here, though, you do end up, you know, having an opportunity to really have a great closeout to your season, prove that your win over Live Sandbox wasn't a fluke, and that, you know, this team is still a strong team in its own right. It's not a playoffs team. But it's a really cool comp. Like, I feel like UCAL has his potential redemption in this best of 3 to a certain extent. You know, you get to close the season out with a big bang, potentially. It's kind of cool. If UCAL wasn't here, you know, I feel like I'd feel very differently about this series. But because he's here, it adds a little bit of extra flair to what is...
Bit of spice.
Yeah, it's what was otherwise just kind of a Afrika-dominant best of 3 where it matters only for them.
Yeah. UCAL definitely that kind of player to try to fight for, you know, people to look at him, for him to make the big plays. I feel like he got himself into trouble because of that play style many times in the past. And, you know, sometimes that inconsistency can be looked at by coaches and they just say, well, I'm going to have to hold that thought because we got the sun coming in, but the oranges are held by Doran. The red buff getting a lot of work done here, but just helping get that TP out of Doran very early on in this game.
Yep, Smite committed here to help push the wave, but Doran will be able to get back into lane. Easy peasy. Doesn't even have to flash. The orange hold being the most critical part of this, as you mentioned. Teleports in, and we'll be straight back into the action as Gideon's going to wait here and look for a steal on the scuttle.
Yeah, and he's actually going to try to fight here with Press the Attack Trundle. But saying that, okay, the smite comes down to Gideon, and he'll actually flash the wall. Tons of respect given over to the potential of Fly and Dread to lock him down.
Yeah, I really appreciate the flash there because you know that if Fly gets the opportunity from a Viego stun, he will chain the stun together with the Scour of the Week. The damage output at this stage of the game into a Trundle who's already kind of traded a little bit is very, very scary. And he pushed the envelope to get maximum value out of that. Goes in, has pressed the attack, like you mentioned, to duel. If it's a 1v1, he's going to be happy. And also, UCAL gave him some help there. So, wins the Smite fight. If he misses the Smite fight and then has to flash, it feels terrible. But because he gets it, feeling all right with this one. The flash being gone does limit for, you know, the upcoming top potential we were talking about, where you collapse up there with UCAL, what you can do. But getting that scuttle is going to be a lot of extra experience, and he is, of course, able to double scuttle.
Yeah. I just thought that maybe they'd be able to turn that 2v2, but because of Keen making his way down from the top side, I guess that was just totally called off. So, you know, split-second decision, and always just flashing the wall is the very safe play. So, gotta like it at the end of the day. The double scuttle was pretty interesting. See that he was able to pick that up, but Dread just going back to his own jungle. Gonna clear it all out.
And Gideon is walking towards Krugs now, and then we'll have an opportunity to head to the top lane. UCAL hits 6 right before that. There's a really nice opportunity on this Kennen that's very far pushed up with the wave state at the moment. So keep an eye on that. And UCAL is still a ways away. One more wave he'll need before he hits 6, so we'll have to wait that one out. But there's a tiny timing here, actually. And if he's able to hit it, if Kennen keeps being aggressive, like you see the pings coming down. The ward is so clutch here, actually. Instantly pinged when he's there. Keen backs off. And actually uses Doran just using that extra potential pressure to get a back timing. We'll grab an extra control ward. Nothing crazy.
Yeah. Definitely important to get it back like that in. Pick up a Sheen. As we do have a gank in the mid lane, trying to land the, of course, gold card into the pillar. Trundle actually very good at some early ganks if you can find the good angle outside of vision.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the Sheen, as you mentioned, is such a critical item here for the Gangplank to get early to harass a squishy target like the Kennen early on. Makes it very difficult to trade effectively. You're always going to be trading down. Actually picked up the call early here, Keen did, with that back. So just trying to kind of farm it out, hunker down. You're not going to be relevant right now. You're going to be relevant later. So get an extra kill's worth of gold on that call when it's finished. Going to help you boost through that mid game. Just understanding how much threat he's going to have here, and just want to play it passively. Kill minions only. That's your goal.
Yeah.
You're keen.
This game is a pretty interesting one. I like games like this where it's like, yeah, I mean, you look at KT's comp and you see GP and Jinx, and it's like, okay, in the late game, anybody can see they're going to have some pretty insane scaling, right? Like, everybody can look at that and notice that. But there are a lot of options in Afrika's composition that even if it does get to a later state of the game, where they can have options for huge fights, right? We've seen Syndra's single-handedly win games in late stages, even though she spikes really hard on one item. And then she's pretty good for a long time, but, you know, 6 items, she's not, like, as good as some other control mages. Her pick potential is huge. And, you know, the potential for counter flanks with the cannon and stuff like that, you still have options later on in the game. So it keeps it interesting throughout the entire game.
Yeah, it's interesting because when we talk about scaling, I think the term is often misappropriated to damage only, as hold this thought.
Well, one stun landed, and then we're going to hit our gameplay button. It's not quite enough damage as Merc treads. Definitely the item here to pick up first for UCAL, as he just walks away from that very casually.
Doesn't have to flash or anything. Now Gideon's here. But not going to be able to find his way in. But yeah, maybe going back to the same argument you were talking about, I think people sometimes misappropriate, you know, like the idea of scaling with only damage instead of what the purpose of a champion in the late game can be. And Syndra and Kennen both are extremely good at setting up team fights. And that sometimes is why they scale well, not because their damage output is insane, not because they just auto-attack people and health bars disappear, like something like a Jinx will do. So Gideon really trying to force this here, but I think the risk is just too high. Keen, of course, does have his ultimate now.
Ram is here as well. Now the collapse comes in from TF. Teleport on the top side, but it's a little bit too little too late from Afrika. That's one kill. The Hens burns down, and there's a lot of damage coming out from Fly. Maybe not nearly enough, as he's only able to chunk down Doran a little bit, and that is a massive play from KT and Afrika. They were looking for that fight.
Yeah, Afrika just didn't realize how many members of KT were going to show up here, and yes, a lot of summoners were used on KT's side. Zeus had to use both of his, you know, UCAL teleporting, but this ends up being worth it because they end up just barely getting the win there in the beginning of the fight, and then it snowballs into a further lead. They get 2 kills and the Rift Herald. The timing of this exchange is so good, and for the same reasons I was worried for Gideon there, you know, Afrika were looking at this going like, I think this is a good fight for us. Like, let's go in, because the vision they had made it look like they had the advantage, but they in fact did not. It's a really big roam up from Zeus, and obviously the bottom side of Leo down here not able to really help out. And watch the replay of how that kind of goes down, because Keen is in a position where he can go in, but then he's instantly like, ooh, this is not it. Like, I'm outnumbered, I'm outgunned, and it's still the early game, so
yeah.
And watch this happen. Like, Gideon is here, and Keen's like, okay, with Braum here, it's 3v1, and Doran won't be here in time, but UCAL's already here. Like, he comes in instantly, and you're just completely outnumbered now because Leo didn't come. And, you know Jinx is at the bottom of the side of the map, but it's the fast rotation from UCAL. And Cannon Barrage is just so strong at this stage in the game, too.
Yeah. Slicing Maelstrom only hitting one person. Like, he just felt like Afrika were really trying to force that one, and it did not work out. You got to know that the TF is going to be there before the teleporting Syndra, right? Like,
yeah.
It's just the way that's going to work out. And so it was 4v3 for a lot of that, and the Pillar doing a nice amount of work as well to secure that. Nice follow-up from Zeus. And now, I mean, KT, that's a really nice couple of kills that they pick up. They get a really big objective early on in this game. No dragons have been taken either. It's the one bit of action we've had in the game, but it's a huge one in favor of KT.
Just going to give him this huge gold swing. You know, the kills alone are nice, first blood, but the Rift Herald is going to be the cherry on top here. Is Afrika posture around a Drake, but this is not a fight where you're favored, actually, necessarily. You know, it's a very scrappy fight. Doran is about to have his Cannon Barrage. He does not, but he does have teleport, so he can be here at a moment's notice.
There's not really any flank wards for the Kennen, so if Keen wants to get something done without Flash, as they're looking for a pick onto Fly first, even the Subjugate coming in, and the Flash jump in one auto is enough to just smack the Syndra down. And you thought you were going to fight over that Drake now. I mean, KT don't even have to go for the Drake. They have so much control, they can just take the mid-turret potentially.
Yeah, that is exactly what they're looking for. They've got a full wave of minions here, too. This is going to force both Lehends and Dread to show up. And even Leo rotated up, which means that, you know, 5kid can just farm freely down here and push that wave in. And that means guaranteed prio on bottom and mid. So you get a ton of plates on that mid turret. You force a support to rotate mid, and you're going to get the dragon. And all the while, you know, this is just a farm fest. I don't know about this one, Doran.
Keen's trying to get in here. He's trying to win it for his team, but maybe it was a big bait all along as UCAL's here again. Perfect timing. Picks up his third kill. And Doran says, thank you very much for the help.
I mean, even I was baited by that. I'm like, well, you don't win this fight 1v1, but it was never a 1v1. It's never a 1v1 when the Twisted Fate is involved. And, you know, normally in situations like the one I was talking about before where you have this snowball, Gangplank, and Twisted Fate into the Kennen, they're making aggressive plays and even diving sometimes onto the turret. But both of these deaths now for Keen have been because he was baited in. He had an overextension and was punished for it. And this matchup is now going to be so incredibly hard to play. I mean, now the Kennen is just really going to struggle to be relevant. Is always going to be under kill pressure. And that's terrifying. UCAL 3 kills, as you mentioned, is a real strong force in this game. And he can just continue to snowball the top matchup so incredibly well that now Keen is just going to have to hunker down. I mean, I said that before, but now it's like real.
Yeah, and you know, you don't necessarily want to do that against this team, against this comp. By the way, they got Infernal Drake, the first one, so you got GP and you got the Jinx. All the scaling over here, they're going to be in a fantastic spot. And some of those later game options where you get big picks or big flanks from the Kennen or Syndra, those begin to lose a lot of value if you fall this far behind. And we're getting to that stage. I feel like Dread, you know, he's in a pretty good spot. He's farming very well. He doesn't have any kills. He hasn't been part of any of the action, really. But he's farming really well. He got his first item. You know, maybe he can make some plays if the next fight gets a little bit scrappy. But for right now, it's all KT.
Certainly is, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Keen, you just have to stay under turret, and it's not enough. Well, it is when you flash away from a pillar, but you've now lost your flash, and guess what comes with it? Dread's coming up here, so they're not actually going to commit. They don't have a wave either, but if there's a wave here, you can actually try to push the turret down. But now Keen doesn't have flash for the next time this happens. He will not escape with his life. It's going from bad to worse here, and as you were saying, with the Jinx and the Gangplank later on, this much of a deficit early for Afrika is disaster. Because the big win conditions for KT are already starting to become threats here pre-20 minutes.
Yeah. We'll take another look at the setup. It's just pretty straightforward. Fly has flash. He needs to flash before TF gets in range.
No, and he does not, and just instantly gets killed. Loses the flash afterwards as well. Feels like every time I sing Fly's praises, this starts to happen. As this was the big bait play where Keen does commit his ultimate, and then the cannon barrage comes through, and you see Doran's health bar is almost 0, and then UCAL shows up. Completely baited.
And I don't even, like, UCAL's like, oh, you need help? Okay, I'll be right there. 2-3 seconds later. Just that little bit of extra damage that Keen didn't quite have. And, you know, maybe it's a cult purchase, but more so it's the fact that his lane has not been going very well. So he's not able to extend the kill, even with Doran just running straight at him. And that is pretty rough. 5Kid getting a lot of value down here.
Yep, gonna maybe get the whole turret. It's gonna deny a ton of CS. As Gideon, at this stage, like, he's Divine Sunderer. He's very difficult to kill. You know, he's not building tank, but if you end up starting to duel with this guy, he's going to outlast you, and he becomes a tank of sorts because he's just going to heal through so much. It's going to slow you, and then the rest of KT shows up. Trundle is just so strong right now because he works with any style of comp. Oh, you want to skirmish and fight a lot? Great for that. Oh, you want to play a little bit defensively around, you know, bot lane if you're playing support? Great for that. Oh, you want to fight a tank and get subjugate value? Great for that. You know, his pillar, always going to be useful. But he's really ahead in this game, and once again,
Glad we're all on the same page, and here he is again for the counter gank, but this time Viego will have the last laugh as Dread is getting in the face. A lot of damage coming out from some of those chomps. Thankfully, they had a stun to get away from Big Trundle. But at the end of the day, Doran, this time he baits himself, and that is 1 kill on the board here for Afrika.
Yeah, it doesn't go to Keen, but he will pick up some of that assist gold. His call does complete, so he's going to have a ton of money in his pocket. This is really a really nice turnaround for Afrika in some ways, but again, in others, the timing of this doesn't work out for a big objective to be taken. So it's a little bit bittersweet in that regard because it is going to be a lot of money going over the Viego, but isn't going to be able to close the gap or get you a big objective. As you can see, this wave is completely caught, and guess who's going to the Drake first? It's KT Rolster. Gideon's on top of it.
Yeah, it's their rift. It's their objective to take, and they will take it very easily. They have an option of Mountain Soul or Cloud Soul. I feel like probably Cloud Soul in this game. But either one is going to be nice, and it is Mountain Soul, actually, after all. So
You're not Atlas.
I'm not quite able to summon it as well as he is. Although I would have enjoyed seeing it here in this game.
Rift Herald here, obviously going to do a lot of turret damage, but, you know, as an objective, not too huge here. Doran is going to be totally fine. Scout of the Weeks here have been decent for Fly so far, even though he did miss his flash earlier, and I think a lot of people are going to be focused on that. Has been very accurate hitting those stuns, and that's going to be really important for the kind of wing conditions you were talking about earlier, with what Syndra can do in the late game.
Yeah. Just going to have to open up a fight like that if you want to have any hope. Or potentially rely on the cannon. Keen keeping up in farm, even though the laning phase was a little bit dire from what we could see.
It is really important for Afrika to have enough map control to set up flanking wards for Keen later on. That's something that we've seen with Kennen a lot here in the LCK, is he often lives and dies by his ability to just teleport into the backside of a team fight. So we're going to watch this one more time. Doran is collapsed on here, and they don't know that Dread is here. So even though he is able to flash away and cannon barrage for the slow, Gideon can't do too much to save him. He's still very squishy, after all. At the end of the day, Gangplank can do a lot of damage, but he's kind of a glass cannon at this moment in time. Really nice play there from Dread. As we do have a little bit of posturing here on the red side, or rather by KT on the blue side of the jungle, but they're looking for Fly, see if they could catch him rotating over, but he is going to think better of it. Dread doing the same over here.
Yeah, Dread can get value if he finds someone in transition, so I like little plays like this, especially his entire jungle is farmed out, so... I mean, what else are you going to do, right? Unless you're looking for a dive onto a Gangplank, not a good idea right now. So, maybe you find a Thresh.
You say that, but he's kind of interested.
Sending mixed messages.
As soon as he sees the Thresh, though, he is out of there.
Seems really, you know, engaged and interested in the conversation, but then doesn't reply for 3 days. And you're left wondering.
Yeah, you know, it's like...
Oh, sorry, I was just really busy.
Yeah. We'll meet next week. Also busy that day. All right, cool. Yeah. Thought, yeah, feels bad, man. Okay, pillars up. Turret not going to last very long here, and Lens is going to need some help.
Hold the door. He's going to keep it alive, actually.
The Lantern trying to help out. Oh, it's just not quite enough.
I like the ward, too. Just a little bit of cheekiness. They really want to keep this turret alive. Of course, first turret's gone down a while ago. KT taking 2 of them. But they're able to keep it alive, you know. A little bit of a bastion there for Leo to get some farm. It's not much else happening in this game, so trying to maximize your farm is probably the best you're going to do, as Scout of the Week is going to miss as Dread comes in. And UCAL kind of just laughs at him.
They don't know where Thresh, they don't know where any of the champions really of KT are. Like, they don't know where Gideon is, they don't know where Zeus is, so that's why the chase isn't really committed to there. Turret's still alive on the top side of the map, so. And that last bastion you talked about is now going to fall. You're in the mid lane, bought a little bit of time, but aren't able to hold on to that one after they committed to the top side play there. And you can see Kennen is starting to get some items online, does have his rocket belt, the Oblivion Orb is ready. He's got a stopwatch, which is critical for this upcoming Drake fight. This one is going to be soul point for KT, so as Afrika, you really want to stop this one so you have a lot more potential in those last ones to kind of take fights on your terms or ignore the fight. But he is going to once again rely so much on his engage angle. So right now for Afrika, not a whole lot of wards. There's one on the left side of the Drake pit, but there's no deep wards to the red side of the map. There's no ward on the bottom brush to flank from there either. So this is going to be an awkward one for Keen to actually maelstrom into.
Absolutely. And this is what happens when you get behind with a comp like this, right? You don't have a lot of hard engage, so you need flank angles. But when you get behind, you don't have deep vision, so you don't get flank angles.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, what do? I hope Fly is able to hit some Scout of the Weeks. And then even then, it's got to be on the right target. And you have to have Flash available on Keen. He does have that. This is their one-item spike. This is their 1-2-item spike. This is where Afrika want to fight.
Yeah.
But it's hard because of the current game state.
The 2 wards there are a place where Keen can teleport, but it's going to be in the middle of the fight. That's not where you want to be. He's actually slowly walking down right now, but that might be too little too late.
Yeah.
And they're clearing those wards.
Might just have to teleport to the left.
Yeah, it's going to be so awkward for him. He's starting to show up now, but again, so obvious the angle he's going to take. It's really easy to outplay this as KT.
Oh, that is gigantic! What was that? That was a crazy Scout of the Week. But at the end of the day, Cannon Barrage is stronger, apparently. Does insane damage. Fly really set up those orbs perfectly. Basically hit everybody, and now immediately KT are like, whoa, okay, I had a plan, but then I got punched in the face.
And here's the teleport back in from Fly. This is going to be, I think, a fight KT can't take anymore. They've taken too much damage.
That's definitely much rougher than it was. And you see everybody's just backing away. They're like, okay, we can give one Mountain Drake. That's no problem. Nobody's going to be really building a lot of tanky items. We can give one. Yeah, but that was scary.
That was very scary. It definitely was a situation where if Fly dies there, because it goes extremely low, then you can actually just commit in as KT and you just walk over the fight like it's nothing. But he does survive, teleports back in, and that's the moment where KT are like, this is just not worth the risk because we have a nice lead, and it is just the one Mountain Drake. That's why having an advantage like this is so important, is watch this Scout of the Week. It's actually insane.
So he sets up 2 orbs.
And look at this angle. It's so great.
Yeah, it's just 2. It just hits everybody. It's perfect.
It's a perfect angle there that he takes, but he takes so much damage, and if he gets hit by that rocket, he might just be in Death Realm. But at the end of the day, that's enough damage to where, with Fly's return, you can't stay anymore as KT. And you talked about it. That's the power of Syndra. It's so important to be in a better position than KT are there, to have a better control over the vision in those moments. That was the one thing Afrika did extremely well in that fight, was they got there early, they dropped those 2 control wards in the brush, and KT had to kind of fight for that control. And that gave Syndra enough time to set up for that.
Absolutely, as they need more of that, right? they are able to get one fight. So far the game has pretty much just been, they tried for that first fight up on the top side, but didn't really work out, and from behind they haven't been able to be very proactive. But more stuff like that, you've got a pretty fed Viego. and Fly is online despite getting ganked a couple of times early on. They have some options here. They got to make plays right now.
Yeah, this is do or die time right now. Just getting zoned out at the moment. For this, the game state we're in right now, neither team can realistically start a Baron and hope to get away with it. I mean, Afrika have a comp that, and they have better control over that area right now, but there's control wards they have to push through, and it's so obvious. KT can come and respond so quickly. They have Cannon Barrage. You just don't want to deal with that, so we go into this kind of lull state right now, but this is why KT are extremely happy with the position and why we've been saying that they're so ahead for so long. It's not just the gold graph, it's that their comp is happy to just sit and farm in these states between objectives. Yeah, we gave over a Drake, but cool, that just extends the game for us. Awesome. We have the better scaling composition in terms of damage. So everything is right in the world if you're a KT fan at the moment. And that's why you said Afrika needs to make the plays. They need to find these opportunities. This one is going to be a missed one, unfortunately.
Yeah, Zeus has been pretty good about his lanterns. And, it's very important when you're trying to, extend that value with the Jinx. They don't necessarily have to, as this is going to be big value, though. He has to Heartbreaker out of here, and now we got TF. Thinking about it, he finds an interesting angle. No orbs fly on that one.
It's not going to be able to catch anybody because Afrika respect him a lot. That was a really scary moment, though. You cannot get caught like that as the Viego. You're so important in these team fights because you are the one who's going to get the big explosion of resets after that Scour of the Week, after the Cannon engage happens. Like, Dread is going to be the final part of Afrika's composition in the fight. He's going to be the cleanup, so you absolutely need him to be healthy in these scenarios. Luckily for Dread, Viego has great sustain, so regardless of that situation, he just uses his ult to get out and heals back up.
There's he's got a lot of stuff in his kit that he enjoys, for sure. And
he's busted.
Yeah. Thank you, Wolf. Putting it very, very straightforward. You and Zanzara on the same page. Although I believe he did say that about Trundle, but still, same vibe. But yeah, it's pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. And I liked what they were doing, trying to set up for a pick there, especially with the Heartbreaker down. And there was not that much vision around the river, but there was vision in the Baron pit, so Afrika were easily able to just kind of avoid it. But could have been a nice play in a game that really hasn't had much action. You got to try to make something happen.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the next moment Afrika are waiting for, is that setup team fight here for the next streak, right? Like, this is just kind of how the steps go forward here for Afrika. Your best opportunity to take a fight is when KT also has to show up, because oftentimes in this game, KT has just been able to avoid fights, because that's what they want to do. This time they're going to have Cannon on the bottom side of the map, so you can actually just flank by default if they decide to sandwich here. Afrika posturing very carefully. Actually, I feel like almost too carefully here.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting to a point now where they're not even confident to take the fights, but now Gideon is going to get Chain of Corruption down, so he's going to be the guy that's kind of left out to dry. UCAL not even here. He was thinking about getting into the fight.
And then, it's just Keen gets a kill. They get a pick without using his ultimate.
Oh, okay, trying to get in, but that is another big scout of the week. Cannon Barrage value does come in, zones everybody away, but look at that. One orb and one arrow. Join forces and a little dab is enough.
The Braum ultimate was fantastic there as well. Everything is working together here for Afrika. It's like a well-oiled machine, and again, late game for Afrika is strong too if they hit their CCs together. The setup is so strong. To get that damage done, the Syndra and the Varus can, from a very long distance away, do extreme quick burst damage, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. You get caught by in just one part of this CC, any part of it, and everything chains together. This is where I was worried for Afrika, because they're kind of slowly posturing here, and then they turn this fight so quickly. Like, Gideon gets caught, that's all you need, and Keen is zooming forward, and he's like, I don't need to even ult this. We're now in 5v4, we just push this wave and continue to fight. And then, once again, you see the ultimate come through here. Lehen sets it up. Just goes forward, blocks that damage, and then Thresh is caught. Has to stop watch.
Yeah.
And guess what? He's just going to be a sitting duck for the arrow.
Now he gets chunked down. And that is the power of Afrika's comp. And it's one Drake by one Drake. it's really slowly trudging through here. And the fact that we've had 4 Drakes already and it's 30 minutes into the game, KT, you know, it has been a little bit shaky on the last couple of fights, but, you know, as this time comes along, you think about the potential soul fight, which could happen in a couple of Drakes. That's going to be at 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And KT, they're going to have 2 super hyper carries with 4 items at least. They're going to be very smooth sailing at that point.
They have, I think KT needs to play this the initial part of the fight, the setup, the neutral game of the fight, if you will, around pick potential. Even though they have great front to back in a lot of ways, they also have the ability to lock down a single target with the Death Sentence and the gold card together, plus Pillar and the Cannon Barrage. Like, KT should be able to set up consistently 5v4 fights if they use their CC correctly in their setup. But if they are a little bit disjointed, as we're seeing, one member by one member going in, like Gideon went in first, was caught, then Zeus is out of position trying to set up for that CC, then Afrika gets these really, really easy fights because they just blow somebody up. But if KT are the ones to actually be the initiators, even though their comp feels like, okay, we just protect the carries, they can actually pull the trigger themselves in a lot of these scenarios, and I think they need to. Speaking of pulling the trigger.
Yeah, trying to make that play on a Keen here. The card will come down, and he's in a lot of trouble. He doesn't even go for the slicing Maelstrom, just 2-on-1. Gets isolated in the side lane, and UCAL is making so much work happen with this TF.
Yeah, 3-0-1 now. Actually the first kill for Doran this game, but he has, you know, been involved in 4 of the 5 kills, as this is looking like a very big overextension. Luckily there's a lantern.
Yeah. At the end of the day, nobody else on the side of Afrika is really able to get in there. So, just feeling pretty good about their position once again. KT slowly pushing down the lanes.
Okay, this is a really nice spot. If Gideon gets up a nice pillar here, there's a lot of potential. But there's no reason to force the issue here on this turret.
Yeah.
The risk is too high.
I like that KT from ahead in their position with all their scaling. They're like, we don't have to do Baron.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, sure, fine. I mean, we will fight you if you want to do that, but we're not going to take any chances. Why should we?
Well, they also have no vision around the Baron at all, so it's something that could actually potentially happen if Afrika walked over to it. KT wouldn't have any sort of idea about it at the moment. The vision control does go to Afrika. Now, this is just a really unfortunate scenario here for the Cannon. Like we've talked about so many times this game, is TF, Gangplank, gonna get you. That's just how it's gonna be if you're trying to side lane sometimes. Cannon Barrage is global, so you're stuck between a rock and a hard place there.
Yeah, also, I mean, they saw the TF was in the mid lane. I think he was there clearing the wards as far as I can tell. Like, I think Keen's got to know the range and the possibility of that. He can't just be going for a lightning rush through an entire wave and just hoping that, you know, Gangplank isn't there, because the second he is, I think he knows he's dead.
Yeah, for sure. Does have his Void Staff online on the Zonias, so if he gets the angle, if he can get into a team fight and presses R button, he is going to get high value between him and Fly. You're going to do a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of getting to that stage. And if KT keep playing this passively, because yes, it is good to scale up, but you also need to be the ones to start a lot of these fights or prevent these flanks from happening. If they keep playing passively, some of this CC lands for Afrika. This is absolutely a winnable game for them. And we are going into this third mountain fight where Afrika have won the first 2.
Yeah.
Keen does not have any flank teleport wards to come to. He's just going to have to walk in straight up, old school.
Here we go. KT moving in as a team. The Cannon Barrage is perfect. And look at this. We got barrels. We got pillars. Everybody slowed through it. Massive chunks through the entirety of Afrika's team. They're not able to kill anybody. And Afrika now, they threaten Baron, actually. So KT can't just run at the Dragon.
Fly and Keen have teleport available, so they can back off here and return with full health. And KT just going to try to rush this Drake down. They leave Doran nearby, and they should be able to get this one before Afrika can respawn and return, because they don't have any vision control, they don't have any wards for those teleports. And you can see Fly is already just heading top. And this is going to be a free objective going over. I appreciate Afrika using the fact that a lot of that engage was used, the Cannon Barrage in particular, to threaten the Baron for a second and then back off. But at the end of the day, KT still have ultimate control over the map. And so now they're on, finally, that Mountain Soul point. Is this is, again, KT, no vision around this.
Gideon's coming in, though. Should be a couple of wards. Put a ward in the Baron pit. There you go. And it might be a little bit late now as we have teleports coming in, but the damage is here. It's so late in the game, but the steal is there from Gideon and the easy lantern out. Nothing's going right for Afrika. KT are dominating them here as here we go. Now something's going as the exhaust comes in, but is it enough to stop it? I don't think so. They're going to wipe down everybody on the side of KT. They all funneled straight into Kennen. And it was their doom at the end of the day.
And finally, Keen gets value in this team fight. If you end up going into a choke point like that against this Kennen, who does have items online, does have Azonias, it's going to be a bad time. And yeah, you get the Baron steal, but now it's only on to UCAL, who looks like he will just barely escape here. But it is going to be a very negative Baron power play, so much so that it might even be inhibitor turrets that go down here for Afrika during their Baron. There's just nothing you can do.
Are they going to push this?
I think this is about as deep as you can go with respawns coming through here. They might be able to get the inhibitor. It's going to be close. And I think, actually, yeah. Unfortunately, it's only Zeus who comes up here. He's the next respawn, and you do get away with it. And this is now, for Afrika, you have map control, which you shouldn't have. You lost Baron. But KT Rolster here, it was a really nice steal between the rocket and the smite there. They time it correctly. It's called out, so Gideon has the smite ready. And then the Death Sentence misses, and UCAL's way out of position. And then suddenly, in this choke point, watch Keen go.
야, 이거 오른쪽 들어오면 볼게 한번. 야, 이거 오른쪽 볼게.
He's like, I'm looking at the right, I'm going right. And he goes in and just presses his Zonias, and he's like, I'm immortal. You guys can't kill me. I've done the whole team fight by pressing one button because they chased into the choke point.
Yeah.
That's not what he said, but that's what I'm saying about that team fight.
Yeah. And, you know, when I was watching the Champions, I'm like, oh, man, they just feel real bad. They got their Baron stolen away. Everybody's just on the retreat, trying to lose as little as possible. But actually, Keen, the entire time, you could hear. He was like, no, let's look for this. Let's look for this play. Like, I'm going in on the right. Let's, you know, let's go for it. So, Keen making the call. And his team was able to follow up pretty nicely.
Yeah. And so this Baron buff is not a success for KT Rolster, unfortunately. Even though the steal was really awesome to watch. But this didn't have to happen. Like, we didn't even have to have this crazy steal attempt scenario where we chase if there was just vision there. They just didn't have it. They responded so slowly. That's why I pointed out moments before, but it finally became an issue when Afrika was like, I don't think they have any vision in there. We still have control word control.
Yeah.
And it's a brilliant macro play from Afrika there. And then even though they get stolen away, they still turn the fight because KT make another mistake.
Yeah. As you mentioned, I think KT needs to be accountable for that. They even have TF on their team, right? So, like,
there's not really much of an excuse.
Yeah. There were options. It was just the ball. They were holding on to it, and then it slipped. Yeah, it slipped out of their hands. It was a little bit, you know, it was a little bit rainy, so it's kind of hard to hold on to that. They were playing outside. They dropped the ball.
That's the story of KT, though, Valdez, this season. Like, there's so much potential in a lot of these games. Like, they've had such great early games, you know, where they have a great lead, and then it falls apart in the late game, falls apart in the mid game, because they make so many weird mistakes that, again, for the caliber of players we're looking at here, yes, there have been a few rookies rotated in and out, and we've been seeing Gideon and Blank kind of swapping Harp here, you know, with Noah, etc. But when you see what KT is capable of in a lot of the games they played this season, you're like, oh, they should win this 100%. Like, this team is really strong. I mean, I really believed oftentimes, you guys watch the Pogs team, know. But then they do drop the ball, which is so unfortunate. And this may just be another one of those same cases here after such an early lead with a comp that scales so well, giving away free kills.
See the amount of poke now that's coming out from the Jinx. You got the GP. Look at that ward, though. That's a big one. That's a spicy one. That's a spicy little ward. I don't think KT have any idea.
Nope.
As Keen, he's going to join with his team first. He has the option to teleport into that one a little bit later as the ward actually goes down. Yeah, I think he just placed it somewhere else. And he only has 3 wards to place down at one time. So, I mean, they have another one above them. It's not quite as sneaky, but might be a little bit more straightforward, you know.
Yep.
Look at this. Look at the zoning. The chompers and the pillar isn't enough as Drake gets in, but no, it's Jinx who gets it after all. And that's going to be too much. They're able to get Mountain Soul, and Dread goes down.
This is a mess. This game is a mess, Valdez. You go in, you're looking for the collapse in, and you are unable to get the Drake, and then you see there's a really big disconnect between the squad here, as half of Afrika is looking to continue to push in, and then Dread makes the call to go in, and everybody else is walking out. So he just dies by himself, and KT are like, thank you very much, that's Mountain Soul. Like, look at Dread, he's like, okay, I'm staying in, and then the Cannon Barrage actually is really the kicker here, because it actually cuts him away from his team. Like, they can't return to save him, and he can't join them. And like, you could see he wanted to initiate, but Afrika was trying to, the rest of his team was trying to make the call to get out of there.
Yeah.
So he gets punished, they lose the Drake, he dies.
It's just too much at this point. Remember what I said like 10 minutes ago? They're going to be at 40 minutes when the Soul comes in. And you're up against so much scaling, but not only that, it's Trundle Pillars, it's Chompers, it's Barrels, it's Cannon Barrages, it's Thresh, Threats, who can also get his allies to safety. They have so much kite back. You're never going to get in range of the Jinx. I don't think it's ever going to happen in this game unless they get blindsided by the cannon.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really it.
Look at Gideon's items. Like, you actually don't normally see a Trundle get 3 full items in a pro game. You know, League of Legends right now is, okay, this is nasty.
Yeah, this is what happens over and over. Pillar and Cannon Barrage over and over. I like the positioning here of Dread. He's like, well, you can't exactly push, even though you're ahead in this game. I can take some of these minions back. A little bit of poke from their side, but as you can see, KT are just, they're firing rockets right now.
Keen needs to have a really nice ult. I think that's Afrika's best way of winning a team fight. I mean, Fly can hit Scatter the Weaks, but look at the positioning of KT. Like, with the vision control they have too, it's just so difficult.
All right, looking for that pick onto the Braum. It's just a Braum, but it's kind of free damage at this point as Doran steps a little bit too far forward, but the rocket will have to be flashed. And they get that flash out of Fly at least.
KT, this time, I think they're looking to actually keep the Baron that they start. They come over here, clear away some of that vision. The Scuttle Crab is still active here for Afrika. Teleport coming through. They're trying to reset for this, but Fly is so far away. Look how far away he's going to walk so far. Well, they get delayed here.
Yeah, Lehen's pretty low, so it's hard. They don't really have much of a front line either. They kind of just have to pull the trigger if they're going to go. Lehen's goes into his stopwatch. Dread, his heart breaker. It's just not going to do much. And this is kind of inevitable. It's finally coming to fruition. Nice scan of the week to buy them some time, but here comes the TF, and now 5Kid. He reigns alone. He can do whatever he wants. He is totally protected, and at 43 minutes into the game, I think KT, they finally, it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
And Keen's like, I just want to ult in one of these fights. I just want to have an impact, but just never able to find the angles, never able to have any control because KT have so much range, so much damage, and so much initiation between, you know, the Cannon Barrages, the Pillars. There's just so many ways this goes right for KT. They got the damage scaling and the initiation and the map control, and they're going to take game 1 in this best of 3.
That they will, and this is rough for Afrika. They're going to get some more kills. Will KT, they want to make it more impressive than just 9-7.